I don't know what part we're up to, but trigger warning, this part talks about suicide and self-harm. The psychiatrist thought I was not in mania, and that I don't have bipolar, and that they could not diagnose me with borderline personality disorder either. In the next part, I am quite upset about this. I feel quite bad about the next part because it's quite sarcastic, and I hope it's not nasty, but at the same time, I think it's important to show this part as it expresses how I was feeling. Sorry in advance if it is a bit nasty.
Hello, my name is John Smith, and I went to a psychiatrist because I thought I had bipolar disorder, and the psychiatrist has diagnosed me with CNAD, which means completely normal affective disorder, and they've diagnosed me with CNPD, or completely normal personality disorder. So we can discuss some of the symptoms I presented with in order for the psychiatrist to reach this clinical diagnosis. So first thing is, with completely normal affective disorder, you can experience periods of mundania, where you are a mundane, dull person who is completely ordinary and does not experience mania. With this condition, the periods of mundania are episodic, so they're not chronic, whereas with my other condition, completely normal personality disorder, the changes, the changes in mood are chronic because they're a personality feature and stick around rather than an episodic mood disorder. So the second feature of the second feature of completely normal personality disorder is feelings of wholeness, chronic feelings of wholeness. This is where instead of feeling like you have a void, you feel like you are completely full and whole. And a third feature is chronic appreciation of an appreciation of abandonment, where so obviously you think life has lots of changes and we should embrace the changes because it brings new opportunities, and people abandoning you allows you to bring new people into your life and form new relationships full of meaning and religious fulfillment. Okay, so another feature, well, basically because I have both completely normal affective disorder and completely normal personality disorder, there's actually, if you have one of those conditions, there's a 20% chance of having both. And because with completely normal personality disorder, what happens is you can be likely to have metabolic disorders like PCOS or pretty consistent ovary disorder, which I have pretty normal and consistent ovaries. So that's one of the features. And I'm trying to think of other. So today when I was socializing, because I'm so normal, I'll just tell you what I actually did. I had a glove, and I challenged a member of staff at a mental health facility to a duel by slapping them in the face with a glove. And then I slapped them again in the face with a glove and challenged them to a dance-off. And then I slapped them again in the face with a glove and challenged them to an intellectual an intellectual debate, and then I slapped them, and then they said I had a very hairy chest, and I said I was the alpha male of the group, and challenged them to a battle for who was the dominant male of the mental health facility, and this was a member of staff, and obviously that is a completely normal and reasonable thing to do, because I have both completely normal affective disorder and completely normal personality disorder. Okay, thanks. And I'm still, sorry, I nearly broke my neck there. I'm upside down at the minute, because being upside down is a completely normal thing to do. So I've gone a bit red then. So yeah, I'm a bit disorientated, but thanks.
I drew a hill from a distance. People can look like tiny mites, but don't worry, they're not really mites, they're people. They just look tiny from a distance. I don't draw mites anymore because I am so normal. I draw normal things like humans. All my mood fluctuations are completely explainable through my autism alone. I don't have bipolar or borderline personality disorder. I am completely normal and a stable human being and a functioning member of society, free to live a life of religious fulfillment. I no longer believe I have the tail of an obscure microscopic arachnid called a palpigrade. The bushy tail is now meant to be a squirrel tail. I now believe I have the tail of a completely normal type of animal called a mammal. Did you know mammals are a popular group of animals amongst humans? Mammals come from the planet Earth. I like mammals because I am normal, and normal people like mammals, not obscure arachnids called palpigrades. I'm going to stop being sarcastic now because I don't want to be too nasty, but I'm still going to try and get my point across. My psychiatrist said I'm not experiencing mania and that my mood is completely explainable through my autism, OCD, and depression, and that I don't have bipolar or borderline personality disorder. They said people with autism can have difficulty regulating their emotions. I have tried many grounding techniques, breathing exercises, sensory activities like sensory toys, mindfulness, the 5 senses grounding activity, and distraction techniques like watching TV or playing video games, journaling, and talking and expressing your feelings to family and friends, and mental health staff, and using a feeling wheel to identify emotions. I've tried to identify physical sensations in my body as well. I have had 6 previous therapists and worked specifically on these with 2 autism specialist therapists. I've tried all of these activities many times. None of them have ever made any difference, and I have watched hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of videos on autism and mental health over the years. I am aware of every option there is to help with emotional regulation, and none of them work. I believe there is more going on than just autism, OCD, and depression. I have kept up doing all the emotional regulation techniques frequently and consistently for years, and I am no better. I don't think this is simply an emotional regulation problem, and treating it as such will not be of any benefit, because I've already exhausted all the treatment options for helping with emotional regulation. I believe I am in a mixed episode. I feel really suicidal, and have plans on acting on it regularly. Because I think I am manic at the same time, I am very impulsive with no inhibition and no ability to consider consequences of a suicide attempt, and I have an extreme amount of energy where I feel like sprinting as fast as I can to a bridge and jumping off. I have been self-harming. I punched myself 50 times in one go, and I have kept punching myself since. My parents need to constantly be in the same room as me, so I can't escape or try jumping out the window. My mom left the room for 30 seconds just to get my dad, and in that 30 seconds I was alone. I had already got a knife and tried to cut myself before she came back in. My mom is having to sleep in the same room as me so that I can't leave the house at night. I believe this goes far beyond having difficulties regulating emotions with autism. Judging by the sound of my voice, I may sound perfectly fine. However, I am crying and shaking at the same time while recording this.
I am a normal human being. I am not a person made out of a eusocial colony of mites. I live on a completely ordinary planet to live on called Earth. This planet is made of rock and is not made of mites. This planet contains 4 layers: the crust, the mantle, the inner core, and the outer core. This whole time I have not been made out of mites, and I do not live on a planet made of mites. The rocks and minerals on this normal planet are malachite, not malachite. The fossils are ammonites, not ammonites. There are stalactites, not stalagmites. Wait, stalagmites are normal too, but they contain the word mite. Maybe I am not normal, and maybe I am becoming self-aware. Wait, no, I am normal because I wear items of clothing, such as tights, and I do not wear mites. I experience the day and night cycle that is typical of the planet Earth. I do not experience day and night. I am normal because I have good sleep hygiene and do all the right things to help me sleep. I got 1 hour sleep last night, which means I am normal because to be diagnosed with hypomania, I need to go for consecutive days without any sleep at all. I am human. I am not made of mites. I am not an imposter. I am made of a skeleton made of the material collagen and the mineral hydroxyapatite. I do not contain a skeleton made of the mineral hydroxyapatite. So I did not do any research for this next part, and I did not use ChatGPT. I wrote a script, but the knowledge is just off the top of my head. Did you know normal people move their bodies in a process called exercise? I am a normal person. I extend my foot to make contact with a spherical object known as a football. Football is a popular leisure activity which lots of humans like myself engage in. When my team scores, I get a moderate and well-balanced amount of excitement, characteristic of mundania, not mania. I use my distal tarsal segment to kick the ball. No, wait, I am not made of mites or part of the broader group Arthropoda. I am human, and therefore only contain metameric segmentation. My vertebrae are just split into metameric segments because I am a chordate and descended from animals with a notochord and retain features of this fluid-filled precursor to a backbone. I contain fluid in my intravertebral discs known as the nucleus pulposi because I am a normal vertebrate and used to have a fluid-filled notochord. I function within normal range because I am a vertebrate and have a thyroid gland. This is clear because my completely normal relative Amphioxus and tunicates have a homologous gland known as endostyles. I have a completely normal and balanced thyroid because I am a normal human. My thyroid is not underactive or overactive. I secrete hormones from this normal human gland called tetraiodothyronine and triiodothyronine. I am a normal human, and therefore in my evolutionary history, my ultimobranchial gland fused with my thyroid gland. The ultimobranchial gland became the C cells, and now, because I am definitely a human, I secrete the hormone calcitonin. I am definitely not made of mites or any other arthropods. I do not secrete any weird arthropod hormones like juvenile hormones or ecdysteroids that help me molt. I do not periodically shed my cuticle at once. I am a deuterostome, not an ecdyozoan. I am not a malocrustacean. I do not contain an antennal gland. I have emotional functioning. I have the right amount of serotonin in my brain and gut. I have a normal enteric nervous system. I do not have stomatogastric ganglion because I am not a crustacean. I have completely normal levels of dopamine and do not need an antipsychotic. My levels of gamma aminobutyric acid are completely normal, and I do not need an anticonvulsant or benzodiazepine. My serotonin is fine. I do not need a tricyclic, tetracyclic monoamine oxidase inhibitor or an SSRI, an SNRI, or any other of the numerous reuptake inhibitors that affect serotonin, dopamine, or norepinephrine. I do not need the S-enantiomer of ketamine through nasal spray or injection because my glutamate levels are completely fine. I do not need Cobenfy
because my acetylcholine levels are completely fine, because I am a normal and functioning member of society. I'll just remind you, I wrote a script, but this knowledge is just off the top of my head.
I'm sorry if this video has been really nasty, but most of my videos are about how I have loads of OCD compulsions to make sure I would never even harm a mite or an insect. Can you not see about how out of character this is for me? This is not just my normal autism, OCD and depression self. Maybe I don't have bipolar or borderline personality disorder. Maybe this is secondary mania caused by medication. Maybe the effect of the tablets just mirrors mania. But saying mania is very severe and that I should not use that word minimizes how I'm feeling and completely ruling out bipolar or hypomania. And saying it's just because autistic people find regulating their emotions difficult just completely dismisses it and minimizes it further. Maybe it's hard to make a diagnosis from a couple hour-long appointments, and maybe you have to be really careful and certain about a diagnosis, because a misdiagnosis could cause worse issues. At the same time, though, you could have said you don't think I have mania and bipolar, but that's just your perspective based on the limited knowledge I've shared with you. I don't like you presenting your version as fact by completely ruling out any conditions like bipolar. I feel like if I'm receiving emotional regulation work for autism, it would just be things I've already tried and that make no difference. I just want someone to say that what I've been experiencing is not just normal for people with autism, OCD and depression, even if there is not certainty about a diagnosis. You have given up your time to help me, and the appointment went over an hour, and you are probably not at all trying to minimize, dismiss, or present your own versions as fact, and you are probably not trying to make me question my own internal experience. I am very sensitive at the moment, and I'm blowing things out of proportion and misinterpreting things. Sorry if I ever show you the first part of this video, because it shows how ill I am. I feel better journaling my thoughts now. I would still like some mental health staff to say that this is not normal for autism, OCD and depression. And even if people with autism can be more sensitive to antidepressants, I have never been as bad as this in 7 years, and this is completely out of the ordinary for me. With the depression, I feel quite a bit of anger, and because at the same time I feel high, I have a lot of energy, and that anger has nowhere to go. I am also much more impulsive with no inhibition or ability to think about consequences, and I think that's why I made the sarcastic part of the video. Even though now I feel momentarily a bit calmer, my mood fluctuates so much that it could be just as bad in 5 minutes' time, and I feel like I need a bit more support, and I'm still crying while writing this. I think I will show you this part of the video before I show you the sarcastic part, so that you understand the situation and so it doesn't upset you too much. I'm starting to feel a bit worse again, and I can't tell what's real, my opinion 5 minutes ago or my opinion 20 minutes ago before I started writing this. I'm doubting myself. Am I gaslighting myself now?